5 years ago, I downloaded Unity and decided I'm going to make video games. I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. It's really crazy to see what my brother and I were making then compared to what we're making now. Here's how I went from making this to making this in 5 years. The first game I ever made, if you could call it a game because it wasn't exactly finished, but the first thing I ever made was this horse game. The idea was, you're a horse, you're sneaking into a hospital to steal medication for your family. As you can see, looks like as far as I got was moving the horse and putting some objects in the level. I guess, game development's hard, so I didn't know what I was doing. I clearly quickly abandoned this project and moved on to my next great idea. The Blood Mage was a game where you're meant to play as an evil mage coming into civilization and just murdering everyone. Just really just destroying them with your terrible blood magic. I tried to open this up in Unity and there seems to be a problem now. Admittedly I haven't opened it in 5 years, where the character just floats in the air. Maybe that explains why I abandoned the project. But there is this button you can press to make red blobs come out of you, so that's pretty exciting. Also, there's an archer that shoots at you, so I was doing AI right from the start. Pretty exciting stuff, to be honest. After my first 2 failed forays into video games, I decided that it wasn't me. It was the engine's problem. It was the engine's fault. So I swapped to Unreal Engine and started developing my next great project. Project I called Superheroes, and as far as I can tell, all I did was make a character change from blue to red. But I was learning Unreal, and that's the engine I stuck with apparently, so clearly an important first step, even if I did absolutely nothing. After the previous games, I decided to start working on a new game called Detective Bot. This just happened to be the game I decided to stick with and actually finish. It only took me 3 years. The concept of having a character that you control each of its limbs individually and you go around solving cases in a kind of semi-freeform way was pretty much the same throughout the whole development. Initially, as you can see, we were really just struggling to get this character moving around. I think now if I tried this, it would take me maybe a day or 2, but back then it took me weeks and weeks and weeks just to get this character even moving in a basic manner, let alone feeling good while you did it. You can see I tried to get this guy's arm moving separately, tried so many different things before he actually even worked out what the correct way of doing it was. We didn't even know anything about level design. We went through so many levels in this game, just making new levels, getting rid of them as we were like, no, we know how to do this better now. I think this was a theme throughout this game because I was learning so much as I went along. We'd make something and it just, a few months down the line, we'd be like, we can do that so much better now. So we repeated a lot of the stuff we made and we learnt a lot while we were doing it, but it also took a lot of time to get something finished and out the door. In 2018, needing a bit of a break from working on Detective Bot, I decided to join my first game jam. The theme was sacrifices must be made. In this game jam I had to make a game in 48 hours, which is something I'd never done before. But I actually managed to pull out a pretty good game. It's simple, but it has some stuff I'd never done before. I tried my hand at pixel art for the first time. I did a lot of writing for the game, and we made a complete project. We actually finished something for the first time ever, after 2 years of developing games. Part of my fatigue with Detective Bot was I also started working on some little side projects. They weren't really games, but they were some fun little ideas I wanted to test. One of them was this physical movement guy. So he was a character driven purely by forces. So there was zero animation, but all his specific body parts would have different forces applied to them for the different animations he would need. It's a kind of cute idea, but to be honest, I don't think it would ever really work in an actual game. Maybe you could make a small tiny micro game out of it, but I think it was just more for fun and me to learn more about physics in Unreal. So we just finished and released Detective Bot to kind of a poor reception. It didn't get very many sales. It wasn't a great first release, I must admit. We did need something else to work on after this though. And after coming off a 3-year game dev project, we weren't sure we wanted to do that again. So we decided we'd prototype some ideas. One of them was this plane exploration game where you were in this sort of spacey ship thing. You could just fly around between little floating islands. There wasn't really a game here, but I was having fun trying to just test a flying around thing, which I'd never done, and I also wanted to mess around with some visual effects and style in the game. I think it's pretty cool. Obviously there's no real game there, and it wasn't what we ended going ahead with in the end. Hey, have you considered liking this video? And maybe smashing that subscribe button? Both these things really help me out, and you'll be getting access to loads more great content in your subscription box. We also prototyped this game where you had a grappling hook and you just kick dudes. This was working pretty well and it was doing reasonably well on Reddit, a lot better than anything we'd ever shown before. So we were like, okay, let's make this into a game. And Kick Bastards was born. Kick Bastards again grew quite a lot in the lifespan of the project. It was maybe 6 months worth of work, and it went from a crappy prototype to a pretty good end result of a game. But we did have some problems with it, and actually recently I just did a devlog where we spent another 2 weeks and just did a complete overhaul on the main objectives of the game to make it significantly more interesting. It went from a game where the mechanics weren't really gelling together to a game that they really did, and I think it's actually turned out pretty well. You should definitely go play that, by the way. It's free on itch right now. As part of trying to get better at marketing, I started making YouTube videos. It's always something I was interested in doing anyway, and this was a great excuse for me to do it. So we started making some really short games and making devlogs on them. We made a game called Ronald, where you play as a person stuck in a spooky supermarket center and Ronald McDonald is chasing you around trying to kill you while you try and collect all the Happy Meals. It's a pretty cool game, and actually it's done really well on itch. Surprisingly to us, we were not really expecting it. We thought maybe because Ronald McDonald's a popular thing that it might help out, but again, not expecting that. One other game we made recently was Super Crazy Bowling. It's a mini golf meets 10-pin bowling game, and it's kind of cool. I didn't quite get the levels as polished as I would have liked. Again, we had these like 2-week schedules, so it was really tight. So you just get what you can done in that time. Looking back at our most recent projects like Ronald and Kick Bastards, it's really interesting to see when I look back 5 years ago, the Horse Hospital game and Blood Mage, I really didn't know anything about game development. Whereas now I would say I'm a pretty competent developer and I have like a range of skills across like all the disciplines, which is not something that everyone has, for sure. It was been definitely worthwhile. I've learned so much. I think if I was going to give advice to someone else starting out right now, just start making games. There's nothing better you can do. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment telling me what you think of all the games I've made. And if you're enjoying this content, we also have a Discord where we share updates about the games we're making on, talk about the videos. It's a great place to be, and I'd definitely consider joining it.